Hello and welcome to FreightWaves Now, Thursday edition, March the 14th, 3/14, Pi Day. And that is Nick Austin, he credited me with that. So happy Pi Day, and fantastic day to be here with you. So many disruptions happening in weather and so many updates to tell you about in oil. For instance, and here's a tease, is oil steady or volatile right now? What's happening with diesel prices, and is the IMO 2020 having any impact on any of these things yet? Well, let's find out when we are joined by market expert John Kingston. But first, Nick Austin,
Hey,
chief meteorologist. Hey, are you just jumping for joy with all the things that are happening across the country?
Well, no. And I don't think a lot of other people are either. This blizzard out in the Great Plains that started early yesterday, it was actually late Tuesday night and early yesterday when it really started to get cranking. It has become an historic storm in several ways.
Oh goodness, okay.
Now, for today, the snow has been fading across Wyoming and Colorado and western Nebraska. That's where the storm hit really hard yesterday. So the snow is fading in those areas, but the wind has still been really, really strong in those regions today. The snow, along with the heavy rain, the combination, or heavy snow rather, the combination is moving east. It's going to head in right along the I-29 corridor. That's right here that goes through Fargo and Sioux Falls down to Omaha. So these areas here where all the snowfall is going to be today. Maybe not, probably not as much as what fell yesterday further to the west, but later tonight is when that storm will finally start to fade out as far as the snowfall. The winds, though, across the Dakotas, Minnesota, is still going to be really strong tonight.
Okay.
Now, yesterday, there was a record wind gust at the Denver International Airport, 80 miles per hour. It's the fastest wind speed that's ever been measured there.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, it seems like a lot, but I'm surprised that that's a record.
It is a record. And also in one location in eastern New Mexico, I don't remember the exact name of the spot, there was a record wind gust of 104 miles per hour. So, and here's the thing, the winds from this storm were strong even hundreds of miles away from the snow in parts of Texas where the skies were sunny and temperatures were in the 50s and 60s, even low 70s. Like in Amarillo, there was actually a lot of tractor trailers, several tractor trailers that blew over.
While it may seem empty and blank, strong winds.
Still strong winds, dangerous. Out near the Dallas International Airport yesterday, near DFW Airport, a roof was blown off of an Amazon warehouse because the winds were so strong. So just a lot of damage from the storm, even away from where the snow's falling. Heavy rain in parts of the Midwest on the warm side of the storm could cause flooding across parts of the Great Lakes states. So this is just a monster storm. And the storm, it did what meteorologists call it bombed out. It became a bomb storm, which means that the air pressure around the center of the storm dropped significantly over a 24-hour period from late Tuesday night to late last night. It dropped so much in that short period of time, relatively short period of time, that's why the storm got so strong and the winds got so strong. So when the pressure drops a certain amount in a 24-hour period, we call it a bomb storm, or the storm bombed out, because the pressure dropped like a bomb. That's where that name came from decades ago. But folks, the power outages just everywhere across parts of the plains where the storm hit last night. And that'll happen again today in the areas where the storm's going to hit today. So the disruptions from this storm, even though the storm's going to fade out late tonight, the disruptions will still be felt for probably several days at least after the storm is gone. Because there'll still be a lot of snow on the ground, there'll still be a lot of power outages and just travel problems with closures still happening on interstates. Any
updates you want to give us on road conditions?
Well, there are still sections of I-70 in Colorado, I-80 in Colorado and Kansas, I-25 going from Denver up into Wyoming that are still closed. And there will be more closures along I-80 and I-90 through the Dakotas and up into the Midwest, I'm sure through tonight at least. But this is, we're going to take a look at just a couple of cameras real quick. If we can pull up, there was one in Grand Forks, I think, Grand Forks, Minnesota, right here, along I-29. So a lot of snow up there. There's going to be a lot more blowing snow from the wind up there too, and whiteout conditions. And then down here in South Dakota, This is along US 83, which goes right through Pierre, South Dakota. That's the capital of the state. And this camera right here just absolutely showing whiteout conditions across that area. And there are road closures right there now too, as well as some of the sections of the interstates.
What could go wrong there? Right?
So the message here is people should not, truckers or anyone else should not be driving through this kind of weather. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you're driving with winds that strong and all the snow. And unfortunately, the storm did turn deadly yesterday. Late morning yesterday out in Colorado, a state trooper with Colorado State Police was outside of his vehicle trying to help a driver who slid off I-76, was trying to help this person, and then another driver comes along. We don't know if he was going too fast, but he comes along and loses control, slides off the road, and unfortunately hit the trooper, and he later died at a hospital. So this kind of weather is just not suitable for driving any kind of vehicles at all. Right. People should just be staying off the roads, period.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for that sobering update, Nick Austin. The weather, everyone likes to talk about it, but can we do anything about it? Don't blame him. He's just calling it like we see it. We also know that while it's easy to say, don't drive out there, well, the freight show must go on. And so from white snowouts to black crude, here's the man who knows a whole lot about crude, and his name, John Kingston, a co-host on Sirius XM. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back. It's been a few weeks.
While, yeah.
Welcome back to FreightWaves Now. What is happening? Are we steady or volatile with oil right now?
Well, if you look at this chart here, I think it's been interesting how the blue is, this is the CME price, the commodity price for ultra low sulfur diesel versus the price of RBOB gasoline. RBOB gasoline being a semi-finished product. Basically, think of it as gasoline without the ethanol.
Okay.
Look at the price of diesel. I mean, it's been steady now really for a month. Very few changes, and that's one of the reasons why the DOE weekly diesel number, which is the basis for so many fuel surcharges, has been flat, hardly any changes at all now for quite some time. Meanwhile, the price of gasoline, which was significantly lower than it's almost always lower than diesel, but look how that spread is narrowed. And where this is significant is that refiners react to economic incentives. I like to think of it as, if you've ever watched The Lion King, they talked about the circle of life. This is the circle of oil. So what happens is, gasoline gets weak, refiners don't like the spread they get from it, they don't make as much of it. As a result, the price of it starts to tighten relative to diesel. Now maybe diesel production is disincentivized, so they make less of it, the price of it goes up. It all, over time balances. But I would say that a setup like this is really one in which we've had a nice steady run for diesel prices, both on the commodity prices as well as the retail prices. And when you kind of get this narrowing, you really wonder if that's going to stand.
Now, I'm curious, if I may, I have a couple, so it's been steady, but OPEC has been steadily decreasing supply, and didn't Venezuela have a blackout of sorts?
Venezuela is, the only thing they haven't had are frogs and locusts. You're right, they did have a blackout earlier this week, which all but ceased exports, as well as what's known as upgrading. That blackout is over, but they've lost production.
But it hasn't had it so far.
Well, that's actually always been kind of the strange thing, that there's been so many bullish things in the market. The production cuts by OPEC. If we can put those production cuts up there, Robbie. Well, here's the rack price for diesel, so you can see that's. I mean, that may look like a big change, but I mean, it's really not. This is all very steady.
Right, and this is spans about a month.
Right, about a month, right. So OPEC's been cut back, Venezuela's been cut back, and yet the price of oil has been inching up, particularly yesterday. It took a nice rise, I hate to say nice, but a significant move upward on Wednesday. But ultimately, it's been the U.S. shale output that's been holding it down. Now, what I think is significant is that in the last couple of weeks, there's just been a few disconcerting signals coming from the U.S. production side of things. Shale is a very odd industry. It doesn't really throw out much free cash flow. It doesn't pay dividends. It could be profitable, but all the profits tend to get plowed back into producing more output. So it just doesn't operate like a normal business. And there's always been this fear that this capital stream that has flowed into the shale industry in the U.S. is someday going to not completely dry up, but tighten a little bit. I was at the CERAWeek meeting in Houston this week, this big meeting, and you heard a lot of that. You know, how long can this capital run continue? The February numbers put out by the EIA on U.S. crude output were lower than you would have expected given the weekly numbers. The most recent weekly number was down from the prior week. So I think you want to watch these U.S. crude numbers, and is the capital flow getting squeezed just enough that maybe the kind of big run that they're talking about, the U.S. averaging 12.5 million barrels a day from 11.9 in the most recent monthly report. Yeah, we'll see if that's going to happen. So I think that's one of the most significant numbers to watch.
One of the things that our market expert Zach Strickland does when he brings up the ULSD rack prices, he likes to cross compare it with the retail diesel price, and we often notice that, like, as one begins to rise, then the other follows, and that does seem to be what's happening now. You pulled up the gasoline index for us. Why did you choose to compare that rather than the diesel?
Okay. Well, first of all, the DOE diesel price, the basis for fuel surcharges, because the market has been relatively steady at the wholesale rack level, it means that the retail price has been steady too. So when you have a market in which the retail price is rising rapidly, but the DOE diesel price inevitably is going to lag, that's not really good for truckers, because the fuel surcharge is the number they pass through, and meanwhile the retail price is racing ahead of them. Inversely, when the retail price is falling, the DOE price takes some time to catch up. That's good for truckers. When you get it like this, which is relatively steady, nobody's really going to make a lot of money on the swings.
Okay. Well, that's great information. Are there any updates on IMO 2020 and the impact that might be having on prices?
I did go to, at CERAWeek, I did go to one session on IMO 2020. Nothing really startling new. They're talking a lot about non-compliance. Non-compliance is kind of like the big swing factor out there. How many ships decide just bull ahead on the old regulations. And the numbers that I heard were non-compliance maybe being a little less than some other models have predicted, which means they're going to turn a little more to marine diesel, which is a pull on the distillate pool, which affects this. So there's nothing in the market yet that indicate that prices are moving as a result of this, but we will watch it every day. That spread on diesel compared to the rest of the complex will easily be the most important number for a trucker to watch the rest of the year and into 2020.
Yeah, we will be tracking that day by day. I also understand that jet fuel is also a distillate.
Yes.
Like diesel. It is. And we, of course, we had the grounding of this, what are they, the 737 Maxes, yes. Because of the two crashes within 5 months of each other, and they were similar crashes. Will that have an impact on fuel prices in general, or is that too much?
No, I think it could. First of all, like every new plane, the latest generation of planes are more fuel efficient than what came before. So if you're going to have to wheel out some old equipment to replace the 737 MAX for at least some period of time, you're going down the scale on efficiency, on fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
If some flights are grounded and canceled and there's a little less traffic, that's less demand. So those things could offset each other. On the one hand, less demand is bearish for prices. On the other hand, going to more fuel inefficient planes is a boost to prices. So I absolutely think it's going to be a factor, but I just don't know which way.
Oh, interesting. That's a tease, I suppose, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in each and every day here at 4 o'clock, where we're going to bring you up to date what is happening in the markets right now. And today was our special, so it's about monthly, our like thorough deep dive into what is happening with oil. And it's been steady so far. Nobody's really maxing out on one side or the other of the current conditions. And in the meantime, do stay safe out there with these very difficult and treacherous weather conditions. And don't worry,